we got to start showing these veterans a little more respect.
Rain, just like that. Nice work.
I don't know if he feels that same way, though. UFC goes back to the Apex this weekend. In the main event, we have Kevin Vallejos versus Josh Emmett. In the co-main event, we have Gillian Robertson versus Amanda Lemos. So we're going to start with Josh Emmett. Started off as an amateur in 2011, went 2-0 as an amateur before turning pro later on that year. Started off his pro career in the Capital Fighting Championship. And he won his pro debut by unanimous decision, but the funny thing about that was midway through that fight, he broke his hand. So he took 10 months to recover from that broken hand. And then when he was training to come back from that injury, he re-broke the same hand. So he had to take 2 years off, didn't get going again until 2013. And then from 2013 to 2016, went on a 9-fight unbeaten streak for the West Coast Fighting Championship promotion. And during that time frame, he also won a championship belt and defended it twice. His UFC debut was in 2016 against John Tuck. And that's a fight where he actually broke his finger blocking a kick. And I believe I read a quote saying that he felt like someone kicked his finger off. So moving on to 2018, he had a loss to Jeremy Stevens and took a year off after that fight to get facial fractures repaired. Peak of his career came in 2023 in an interim championship fight against Yair Rodriguez, where he lost by triangle choke in the 3rd round. He's 1-4 over his last 5 fights, so that's where he's at currently. Still in the top 10, still always dangerous, so let's talk about what he does best, which is use his hands. He lands 3.72 significant strikes per minute. He has a really low, heavy on that front foot stance. He walks forward really behind power, not volume. He's looping power shots, and you can tell because he's only 35% accurate with his strikes because he's really not setting much up. He's coming at you with power. His main shots are, he likes to throw a straight right. That's the closest thing you're going to get to a jab from Josh Emmett. And he likes to throw an overhand right and a left hook combination. That's his main combination that he likes to throw. He likes to explode in short bursts and then reset. That's his ebb and flow. That's how he likes to fight. He cuts the cage off very well to pin his opponents before he bursts. Defensively speaking, his opponents are landing 4.43 significant strikes a minute on him. And that's more than what he's landing on them. And a lot of that has to do with that stance that we talked about. He's really heavy on that front foot. And when he's throwing shots, he throws himself off balance a lot, and he's there to be countered. He does not address leg kicks consistently. He'll check a kick every once in a while, but I'd say maybe 1 out of every 5 leg kicks he's checking. So that front leg is there to get chewed up, and it has been in plenty of fights. He does an okay job at staying off that center line initially, but the more the fight goes on, the more stationary he gets. Over the last 6 fights he's had, he's absorbed 428 significant strikes. And he did not land a single strike in his last fight. So I expect Josh Emmett to come out here extremely hungry in the striking department. Let's talk about his grappling a little bit. Offensively, he lands just over a takedown per 15 minutes. He's 37% accurate with his takedowns. He's not there to try to grapple. He's there to try to take your head off with his hand. That's what he likes to do. 0.1 submission attempts per 15 minutes. So when he gets you down, he's trying to beat you up with ground and pound. He has very, very good ground and pound. He's not looking for submissions. He's extremely physically strong. I mean, there was a fight I just watched earlier on today. I want to say it was against Lerone Murphy. And he picked Lerone Murphy up like DC did Hendo back in the day and tossed him down. And it shocked me because I did not remember that initially watching that fight. So that was shocking to see. The man, even in his early 40s, is extremely physically strong. Defensively speaking, his opponents are taking him down at a 43% clip. He's been taken down 4 times in his past 5 fights. He's taken down 3 times by Topuria and once by Zalal, and we saw what happened with the Zalal fight, ended by armbar. And he can be very vulnerable to submissions from the top position. He's very heavy and he's very strong up there, but he's not the most sound grappler. In his past 5 fights, he's been submitted twice, and that was, like I mentioned up top, against Zalal and against Yair. Cardio-wise, he's proven 5-round cardio. His pace slows as the fight goes on, but his power doesn't go anywhere. Still strong late, still dangerous late. I mean, against his fight against Ilya, he was still touching him in the 4th round. He was waving his hands in between the 3rd and 4th rounds, and he's never going to be out of a fight. You can never count him out of the fight, no matter how banged up he is, no matter how busted up his face is. Emmett's always going to be there, and he's always going to be a threat as long as he's standing. But the question is, what about his opponent's cardio? So let's get into Kevin Vallejos and talk about him. So Vallejos started off his career 4-0 as an amateur before his pro debut in 2021 for the Samurai Fight House promotion. From there, he went 11-0 as a pro until his first loss against John Silva in 2023, and that was his first appearance on the Dana White Contender Series. From there, he went back to the Samurai Fight House for 2 fights, and then had his second appearance on the Dana White Contender Series and got a win against Cam Teague and was awarded a contract. He's 4-0 in his last 5, with most recently a second-round finish over Giga Chikadze, and that was just on December 13th. So a fairly quick turnaround for this gentleman, so let's see what he does well. So offensively speaking, he lands 5.78 significant strikes a minute, and a lot of that's due to his hand speed. This kid, you're going to see, he's very, very fast. He's in and out really, really quick. He throws a really sharp body-head combination, and he throws it consistently. And he consistently digs to the body with his left hand, and that's really what I like to see. He's investing early in body work throughout his fights. He has really snappy leg kicks, and he throws them with both his feet. You don't see a lot of fighters do that. You'll usually see fighters just stick to their dominant foot. So the kid obviously trains properly. Throws really good check hooks with both of his hands. Great diversity in his striking. I mentioned the knockout over Giga a minute ago, and that started with a spinning back fist, and he finished it off with elbows on the ground. And that spinning back fist was not telegraphed and came out of absolutely nowhere. So no one saw it. He applies this subtle forward pressure. He's got his hands up, chin tucked, and kind of just inching forward and making his reads. It's very, very similar to Topuria. And it's something that he didn't do earlier on in his career, so I'm wondering if that is from watching Ilya. This guy's a finisher. I want to say 17 wins overall, 12 of them by finish. When he smells blood in the water, he goes after it. He does not play around, and he gets you out of there. Defensively speaking, he absorbs 4.71 significant strikes a minute. He's extremely athletic defensively. He moves in and out very well to evade punches, but he doesn't move his head off the center line that well. He relies on his feet and just, his speed to get out of the way. But going against someone like Emmett, who kind of marches forward with looping shots, it doesn't stop after just 1 or 2. Emmett will throw 4 and 5 punches when he's throwing those flurries. Backing straight up with your head there, I don't know. I don't know how well that's going to work out for you. Let's get into his grappling. So offensively speaking, just in the UFC, and I should have said at the top, only 5 UFC fights, but just like a lot of young prospects, he's fought very consistently throughout his career, so I feel like these numbers are good for context. 28% accurate with his takedown attempts in the UFC. He's only really attempted takedowns against Danny Silva, and he got 2 of them, and he only had a minute of control time. So not much to speak for offensively grappling in the UFC, but I feel like that's something he may need to lean on in this fight. He has really good top control once he gets to those positions. He's really heavy on top. Like I mentioned, not in the UFC, but on the regional scene, he's showed very, very good cage control and very good takedowns against the cage. But defensively speaking, in the UFC, he's only been taken down 2 times in his past 5 fights, and that was John Silva and Danny Silva. Very, very strong in clinch situations against the cage. That's somewhere I don't think his opponent's gonna have much success, because he's very sturdy and just able to hold positions and fend things off just off his sheer strength. So he's extremely powerful everywhere the fight goes, all fight long. So now on to what the biggest question mark is for Kevin Vallejos is his cardio. I feel his pace and his speed starts to fade a bit as the fights go on. I've seen him fight into a couple 3rd rounds, and The power's still there, just like Emmett, but the speed fades. So it's going to be interesting to see if this fight goes late, how he holds up. Because he's only been scheduled for 5 rounds one time. That was way back in May of 2023. And that fight ended by knockout in the second round. So we just don't know. That championship cardio is still in question. So a note that I will leave with you before I do my comparison here is Vallejos was born in 2001 and Josh Emmett was born in 1985. So matching these two up, you just have two gentlemen who are at completely different points in their career and who I feel have two completely different motivation levels. You got Josh Emmett. He's already fought for an interim championship. He's 1-4 in his last 5. He's taken an ungodly amount of damage in his career, battled back from numerous injuries, and it's only something to respect. It's nothing to. I'm not saying this to try to dump on the guy or kick him when he's down at all. No, it's inspiring to see all these injuries that this guy's been riddled with throughout his career, and to come back over and over and over again and still be here. You can't not be inspired by Josh Emmett. Not at all. But he has a 24-year-old kid on the other side who's extremely powerful and extremely damaging. And that just doesn't balance out with all the damage that Emmett's accumulated over his career. So I'm going with the younger guy, going with who I feel like is the more hungry guy. I'm going with Kevin Vallejos over Josh Emmett in the main event on Saturday. We're going to start with Gillian Robertson. She started off her career 9-1 as an amateur before going pro in 2016. She lost her pro debut to Hannah Goldie, who's a former UFC fighter. She made her UFC debut in 2017, and that was on The Ultimate Fighter. She got the win by submission over Emily Whitmire. She's won 6 of her last 7. She's 4-1 in her last 5. And, just a cool little side note, she's won her past 3 straight grappling matches. So, offensively speaking, she only lands 2.86 significant strikes a minute. And a lot of that's due to her the speed. She's very, very slow. Not the fastest striker. She is technical, but not fast at all. And that you can see that in these numbers here. She's landing at a 48% clip, so she's hitting on every other strike that she throws. She's laid on her feet. She has a nice little light bouncing style. She's mobile. She likes to mix in the front kick a little bit, but all of that is just smoke and mirrors to get to what her game is, right? And that's the grappling. Defensively speaking, she absorbs 2.86 significant strikes a minute, and her opponents are landing at a 56% clip. She stays composed defensively. She's only been finished by KO one time, I want to say. Yes, I mean, she's not an easy woman to finish. She relies on movement and positioning more than reacting. So I feel like that's really important in this fight. Her opponent's very, very reactive, and she is more about a process. Moving on to her grappling, what her bread and butter is. She's landing almost 3 takedowns per 15 minutes at 2.74, only at a 40% clip. She attempts just under a submission for 15 minutes, so you can expect if the fight goes to the ground, she's going to be fishing. She's a really patient grappler. Like I just mentioned, she sticks to more of a process opposed to trying to muscle or bull things. She goes through a very methodical process. She's very patient on the ground. She waits for her opponents to make mistakes, and she capitalizes on them. And she has 9 career wins by submission, so once the fight hits the mat, she's a constant submission threat. So defensively speaking in the grappling realm, she only has a 41% takedown defense rate. She's been taken down 4 times in her past 5 fights, but 3 of those were from Tabitha Ricci. She'll accept grappling exchanges comfortably because that's her world. So she's fine looking for submissions off her back, kind of like I like saying, playing that jiu-jitsu game. Cardio-wise, she maintains a nice steady pace. She's proven durable. Like I said, her record shows that. And she's been to 7 decisions in her career. So she's got the cardio to go. Moving on to Amanda Lemos. In her pro debut in 2014, she had 2 regional fights before she joined the Jungle Fight promotion and she became the champion in jungle fights, defended her belt 2 times, made her UFC debut in 2017 with a TKO loss to Leslie Smith. She actually tested positive for PEDs in 2017 and served a 2-year suspension. That's something that I didn't know before looking into this fight. And performance enhancing drug, if you don't know what PEDs are, performance enhancing drug. So from her suspension, she came back and went on a 5-fight win streak before she lost to Jessica Andrade in 2022. She is 2-3 in her last 5 outings. One of those being a win over the current champ, Mackenzie Dern. So offensively, she lands just 2.75 significant strikes a minute. She has like this low hand style, and she plots a little bit. She's not the lightest on her feet. She's explosive with her entries. She has really quick power shots. She likes to dart in and out with 1 or 2 shots opposed to extending her combinations, unless she gets you hurt. If she gets you hurt, she'll open up. Really sharp, damaging kicks. Go back and watch that Mackenzie Dern fight. If you don't want to watch the whole fight, just look up pictures of Mackenzie Dern's leg during that fight, because it was ridiculous. Really good evasive footwork. At times she can get herself caught against the cage. And I usually, when I'm taping fights, I usually do it muted, but I forgot to mute this fight. And I heard Joe Rogan, and I loved this quote. He said she throws punches like she's throwing a fastball. And man, is that accurate. She just wings these things, and they come so fast, and they're so hard. They're not that technical, but when they land, they do damage. Defensively speaking, she's absorbing more than she lands at 3.24. And like I said, that has to do with that hands-low style. She's a hands-low style. She's a tough chick. She likes to be in a dogfight. She likes to take one to give one. But the thing I don't like about that is she was dropped in back-to-back fights. She was dropped against Mackenzie Dern, and she was dropped against Wei Li. A lot of the times when she's throwing as well, she'll throw over her feet and throw herself off balance and almost fall over. She'll get really, really wild with winging these shots whenever she hurts her opponent. She'll get really wild and really out of control whenever she smells blood. Not the most composed in those situations. So on to her grappling. She's landing a takedown every 15 minutes. So she's not clueless when it comes to the grappling realm. 62% accurate with her takedowns as well. And she's attempting almost a submission every fight. And you can see she likes to fish for those front headlocks too. So that's something that Gillian's got to be careful shooting in those slow shots in this fight. Very good weight distribution in the clinch. She knows how to shift her hips a certain way. She knows how to pummel into the right side. She knows how to use her head properly. And she's just extremely well balanced and not easy to hold down. That's one thing I feel Gillian's going to find out very quickly, is that she might get in on a takedown. She might get into her hips or get into a body lock, but it's going to be hard to get Lemos there, and it's going to be even harder to keep her there. So defensively speaking, she has a 64% takedown defense rate. She has been taken down 12 times. That's right, 12 times in her past 5 fights. Now, 6 of those were to Wei Li. We all know about Wei Li. And another 3 of those were to Tatiana. So 9 of those takedowns between 2 fights between 2 extremely high-level grapplers. This woman is tough as nails. She's never going to give up on herself. She went through, almost 17 minutes of control time against Wei Li. And sidebar too, my wife's favorite fighter is Wei Li. And I could definitely see why by going back and watching that film. Because Wei Li put it on Lemos for the entirety of that fight. And she was still fighting, and she was still looking for a finish late herself. So you can never count this woman out. Going back to that Wei Li fight, just to touch on it again, she also absorbed well over 200 significant strikes and was still swinging at the end. Lemos has got great cardio. I've watched her fight hard in the late fights numerous times. Proven 5-round cardio. No need to worry about that. This is only a 3-rounder in the co-main. And she just still carries that power late as well. She's still throwing really hard, trying to win fights late, even when she's down. She's durable and she's dangerous the entire fight. So when we match these two ladies up, on paper, you can say it's grappler versus striker. But in my opinion, I think it's grappler in Gillian Robertson versus anti-grappler in Amanda Lemos. Keys to victory for Robertson: get to fight to the ground and keep it there. Don't play the distance striking game at all, not for one single second. That's how you beat Lemos this weekend, is smothering her. That's your game. Get to it as soon as you can. On the other side, Lemos. I feel Lemos wins this fight anywhere it goes. I feel Lemos has fought the far better competition over the past 5 fights. Just off the top of my head, Tatiana Suarez, Weili was in there, Mackenzie Dern, who's now the champion, and a couple others. Luciano, who was an up-and-comer, who she beat last year when she was an underdog. She's fought the much better competition in her career. I think Gillian has the edge in experience, as funny as that is, because Amanda started a bit late. Amanda didn't start her career, I don't say professionally, until 2014-ish. So, yeah, Gillian's definitely has the experience. She's had more fights overall, but she hasn't fought the better competition, and that's going to show itself Saturday. So for that reason, I am taking Amanda Lemos in the co-main event this Saturday. All right, now we are on to the quick picks. Starting off the card, Pierre Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. I'm going with Pierre Rodriguez to win the rematch and beat her for a second time. Elijah Smith versus Yu Su Young. I'm taking Elijah Smith. Beatrice Mezquit versus Monstrant Rendon. I'm taking Monstrant Rendon. Hector Souza versus Luan Lacerda. I'm taking Hector Souza. Manuel Sosa versus Balaji Oki. I'm taking Balaji Oki. Chris Curtis versus Miktabek Orolbai. I'm taking Miktabek Orolbai. Eric Anders versus Brad Tavares. I'm taking Brad Tavares. Charles Johnson versus Bruno Silva. Charles Johnson just got knocked out, but I'm taking Charles Johnson. Going on to the main card. Vitor Petrino versus Stephen Asplund. I will never, ever bet against Stephen Asplund ever again. Stephen Asplund. Marwan Rahiki versus Harry Hardwick. I'm going to say Marwan Rahiki stays undefeated. Andre Fili versus Jose Delgado. Ooh, that's a tough one. Give me Jose Delgado. Umar Asai versus Ian Kuntalaba. Ian Kuntalaba. Ian Kuntalaba is always a great underdog, by the way. Amanda Lemos versus Gillian Robertson. Give me Amanda Lemos. Kevin Vallejos versus Josh Emmett. Kevin Vallejos. And those are the quick picks. Round 3's underdog lock of the week is Stephen Asplund. Vitor Petrino has about 3 minutes of cardio. Stephen Asplund will not get tired. I'm going to dive deeper into this fight in a video that I'm going to drop in a couple days. So be sure to check that out. Now, I'm going to give you my 4 most confident picks on the card. First, Brad Tavares over Eric Anders. Second, Miktabek Orolbai over Chris Curtis. Third, Marwan Rahiki. And the fourth and final most confident pick is Amanda Lemos. So that's my take on the UFC going back to the Apex this Saturday. Once again, we got Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos at the top of the bill. In the co-main event, Amanda Lemos versus Gillian Robertson. And in the featured bout, we got some fireworks between Ian Kuntalaba and Umar Asai. That'll be an exciting fight as well. I was not that excited about this card until I started breaking it down and looking at all these fights. This is going to be a really, really good card. A lot of high-level fighters, a lot of veterans, a lot of young up-and-comers. It's just a lot of volatility on this. It's really exciting. Really, really exciting. Keep an eye out for the underdogs. There's a lot of good underdogs on this card. Chris Curtis is a solid underdog. Ian Kuntalaba is a solid underdog. My underdog lock, Stephen Asplund's a solid underdog. I mean, almost all the way up. Even at the top of the bill, you might not think it. Josh Emmett. Don't sleep on him now. Don't sleep on him. He might have one more left in him. And we're going to find out on Saturday. All right, so I'll see you next time in round 3.